So when you're doing the porridge fast, you'll be eating the small amount of white rice porridge, like a cup of cooked, cup and a half. Yeah, a cup is good. Cup of white rice porridge. Just put a little bit of salt in there. And so breakfast, lunch, and if they're overweight, tell them not to eat the dinner one. Just eat the 2, breakfast, lunch. If they're not overweight, you can do it for 3 meals. And then at night before they go to sleep, about half an hour before going to sleep, around if our time is 9:30, so give it to them at 8:30. But make sure that they take it 30 minutes after any liquids. So if they drink any water at 8 o'clock, then okay. At 8:30, then they can take the olive oil charcoal mixture. And so, I'm glad you asked. So what it does is, then it coats, the olive oil coats your stomach lining, right? And then it causes the charcoal powder to stick and in the areas where it needs the healing. And so if you leave it all night long, then it's able to do the healing there. And so you try not to drink any water until the next morning if possible, or if you wake up in the middle of the night, maybe 3 hours, 4 hours later, then you can drink that. And then, yeah, it's really good. And then during the daytime, if you have stomach ulcer pain, you can also take it. But then also check out the water times, right? So you want to take it half an hour after drinking any water. And then at least don't drink water for about 2 hours or 3 hours if possible after that. So it can have a longer time to activate.
So how do you consume it?
Oh, you just drink it. So it's like 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So it's like a liquid. Think of it like a medicine. And then the 1 teaspoon of activated charcoal powder is the powder, right? So just mix it together and and then you just drink it like that. And it's very oily, so when you clean your cup or whatever, what we do is we take a paper towel and wipe it out first, and then you can wash it with hot water and soap and dishwashing soap, and then it works out really well. Yeah, really good. Huh? You need it?
I was saying, I know that it works to some extent.
Oh.
Because my father has been living with ulcers for more than 30 years now.
Yes, please.
And
Tell your dad.
Not knowing the chemistry behind it. He was using, he used charcoal. No, not the oil, but he was using the oil.
The thing is that you can use it for, the however many days. Is he overweight?
No, he's normal weight.
Normal weight? Okay. So if he does this fast and he does the charcoal and olive oil, and then any time in the day he has the pain, take it. And then, but he has to change his lifestyle. So you got to teach him how to drink water, how to walk, how to get the sunshine, how to sleep early, okay? So it has, and then the change of the food and everything. So yeah, it might heal in that short period of time, but if he continues to go back to eating the same way he used to, then it's going to come back again. All right? This is not about a relief. It's not about a Band-Aid. This is about healing the whole body, allowing the natural healing to take place to heal.
So it happens for many days? We do this for many days?
As long as they need, usually around 3 to 5 days.
Okay. So for all ulcers, even rectal ulcers, anything?
This is for stomach ulcers.
Or stomach?
Yeah, stomach ulcer.
This work for appendicitis symptoms?
Appendicitis? I don't know. Yeah. You can get it from health food stores. Yeah. And here we have a sister ministry called Steps to Life in Lilydale that sells it. Yeah, and I think they sell it at the ABC, right? The Adventist Book Center as well. And you can do it online. Yeah, so activated charcoal powder, is so incredible. You can use it in so many ways. So that's just for stomach ulcers, right? But if somebody has indigestion or, they've had some kind of poison that's ingested, you use just the charcoal powder with water. So you don't have to use olive oil if it's not an ulcer to coat it. All right, so then you just take it. If I have a stomach ache, I didn't eat something right, take some charcoal. Or if you have gas, really bad gas, take the charcoal with charcoal with water. Yeah, and it's very helpful. And then if you have any kind of boils or skin infections or any poison, you can use the charcoal, make a poultice, add water and some kind of binder like flour or flax, linseed powder, and then you make it into a poultice and then wrap something around it. Wow, so quickly it will suck out the infection and give healing. So it's a really wonderful natural remedy that God has given us. Yeah, so I mean, you look on YouTube and find, whole presentations on how to use charcoal.
Yeah. I don't know how to say avocado.
Huh?
The avocado, yeah. You said it's not good for fasting
That's right.
because it's fatty. Is it fat? Is it
That's
not
right.
healthy fat or?
Avocado is a great fruit. It's got a lot of healthy fat and it's great, but just not for fasting. Because the purpose of fasting is cleansing.
Sometimes I just eat it thinking it's okay for fasting.
Not for a cleansing fast. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, let's continue. So, it shouldn't be too much longer, so hang in there.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, question?
How often do you recommend fasting?
Okay, so if it's 3 days or longer, it's considered a major fast. And probably a major fast you probably don't want to do more than once a year. Unless you're extremely overweight, and then you can do it for longer, and you can do it, more than once a year. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, especially when people are thin, underweight, everyone's different. Mm-hmm. But some people have really a lot of loss of energy and vitality when you do the fasting. Mm-hmm. And so like for people like that, I wouldn't recommend that for more than once a year because it can really take a toll on your body. But if you're overweight or if it doesn't affect you that way, then you can do it longer. So I'm going to show you some more information about that a little bit later. I have a story of a lady who, just wait. A little bit longer. Okay. All right. So now, we talked about the importance of the recovery meals. And so the transition is very important. So you can do water fasting straight to recovery meals, right? The 1 spoon of rice and then increasing bit by bit. Or you can transition from water fasting to fruit fasting. And then to transition though, you wouldn't go from water fasting for 3 days and then like one big apple or the portion of fruit that you're eating. That would be too much. So what we would do is perhaps maybe like if you did 3 days of water fasting, maybe I would do a third of an apple as your first meal. And I would remove the peel. So usually if the peel is edible, we'll always eat it, except for the transition from water fasting to fruit fasting, okay? Just because it's harder on the digestion. And then from there, we would increase bit by bit. Maybe the second meal, you'd have like 2/3 of an orange. And then the next fruit fasting meal, like a banana and a quarter or something, just bit by bit. But now if you only do 1 day of fasting, then just do 1 day of recovery. Or like if you just do 1 day of fruit fasting, so the next day for recovery, I would just have you do like a temperate meal. It's not like didn't take a toll. If you did 2 days of fruit fasting, okay, I wouldn't give you so little. I'll give you maybe a little bit more than how much fruit you ate, that quantity of the cooked food. All right, so if you do fewer days, it's not such a big deal. The longer you go, the more careful you need to be with the reduced amounts. Okay, then from fruit fasting to recovery, we already talked about that, right? So the same amount of food, but cooked, and then also mixed with raw. And then start with easily digestible foods, things that are comfortable for digestion. Things like the cooked grains, whole grains are good. The vegetables, most vegetables are pretty easy to digest. So what's more complicated are like beans, nuts, and complicated meals. So you want to wait for about until you're almost 3/4 or 2/3 finished with the recovery meals to start eating the beans and the nuts and stuff like that. Okay? So you'll see it in the process of you guys going through it, then you'll see. All right. Now, We said that fasting was hard, but then recovery meals are harder. But what's harder than that? Is eating healthy for the rest of your life. Right? We eat three times a day, right? So hunger is a natural instinct that God has given us. So we're going to be battling it the rest of our lives, a few times a day. So if it's not kept under control of reason and temperance, then it can easily run off from us. And so having that commitment to eat healthy the rest of your life is a big commitment, and it's harder than just fasting for 3 days. Okay, fasting for 3 days is a quick fix, actually. You see results very quickly. But that commitment to continue is a big deal. Remember Daniel. In Daniel chapter 1, he purposed in his heart, right, to follow God's ways. He purposed in his heart. He made that decision. I am going to follow God's ways. I am not going to eat the king's food. I am going to eat the food that God has given and told us to eat. And from there, they were found to be, after 10 days, they were found to be healthier, brighter countenance, wiser, just in all ways, physically, mentally, and spiritually. They were amazing. Okay, so we already talked about how often you should fast for the major fast. If you want to do 1 day of fasting a week, Ellen White recommends that. That's beneficial. Let's just do the recovery meals after. That means eat moderately the next day. But some pastors I know, they say, oh yeah, I fast on Sabbath. I don't eat breakfast and I don't eat lunch. But then when they go home after the sun goes down, gorge, eat a big meal. So that really defeats the purpose of the fasting. Okay, constipation is normal while fasting. Because you don't have the same amount of food going through, your bowel movements might not come for a few days. Even a friend of mine who went to Korea, he didn't have bowel movement for about 7 days. And so if it becomes really uncomfortable, you can take some chia seeds with water, and then hopefully that will help you. Okay, medications and fasting. All right, so while you're fasting, we already told you, right, that what's happening inside your body is doing the same work as medication. So if you're taking the medication not for everything, but for certain things that affect the blood, right, like aspirin, blood thinners, insulin and diabetes medication, hypertension medication, things like that. If you're taking that and you're doing the fasting, there is a danger actually of the numbers dropping too low, right? So if somebody who's diabetic and they're taking medication and or having insulin and then they're fasting, it can drop and they can become hypoglycemic. And that could stop the sugars from going to the brain, and that could cause death. So we try to be very careful when people are diabetic to make sure that we adjust their medication. And as we see how the numbers come down, we can see if the sugar numbers become too high, then we say, okay, you can take a little bit of the medication, to control it. If the blood pressure goes over like 160, the top number, 170, I think, then we say, okay, why don't you try a little medication today, something like that. So we just try to manage that. So you shouldn't stop medication like cold turkey for all medications. Like people who have thyroid problems, hypothyroidism, we tell them, don't stop it straight away. As you get better, go to the doctors, and when they say you can reduce it, then reduce it. People who have like gout medicine, if they stop the gout medicine, then they'll have so much pain. So there's certain medicines, like medicines for mental issues. You take it off right away, people go really berserk, right? So we want to be very wise in this. So we know that things for the conditions I said, right, regulating the blood, making the blood thin and clear to flow better, those are the ones that we can safely reduce and even stop. And you'll see your numbers changing and becoming stable. Okay, the next one is a very important thing to realize. As you're doing the fasting, your body is going through this cleansing and it's going to respond. It's going to be worse before it gets better. So the recuperative response means that, especially around the second day of the fasting, you get headaches, you get dizzy, lightheaded, weak. This is a normal response as your body is cleansing. But you also have other things that are like if you had old accidents from the past, like if you had a car accident and you had a shoulder injury, during the fasting, this shoulder is going to hurt more. And that's a recuperative response. That means something is happening in your body. There is healing going on. But after the next couple of days, it should subside. If you've had digestive problems, as I said, you might have throwing up, you might have diarrhea, you might have pains. If you've had, the headaches, migraine headaches, you might get a big migraine, right? But then it will slowly reduce. Any kind of pains, it will get worse before it gets better. So I'm going to be asking you, especially tomorrow, how are your recuperative responses? Are you feeling any of them? And by God's grace, keep praying, push through. Let me know if you guys have headaches. So we can do a hot foot bath and that relieves the headache. So this is an incredible thing. I just learned it, in the last few months. But with a hot foot bath, if there's any place in your body that's congested, the blood is congested, then what it does is the heat pulls the blood down to where it's hot. And so it relieves a congested area of congestion. It's like amazing, amazing. And it totally works. The last two programs, I think, we had people with the headache, right? And so we did a hot foot bath. I gave them a massage a little bit, just in the shoulders, wherever they were, having that pain. And incredible, just within the half hour, 1 hour, the headache reduced or subsided completely. And then they didn't have headache again. So, water. This is hydrotherapy, right? Water therapy. And God has told us, given us information about this. So it's not just about ingesting drinking water, it's cleansing us on the outside, but we can use water on the outside for treatments and for healing. Bruce, you probably know a lot about this, huh? Yeah. Yeah, lots of hydrotherapy. Okay. So also, as I've been reminding you at the meals, chew, chew, chew. I put chew slowly, but actually that's not proper. I should say chew thoroughly, right? Chew thoroughly. Because some people might chew fast and then chew thoroughly. Some people might chew slowly and grind it well. But talking does not constitute chewing. So do not mistake in that, okay? So it doesn't mean that we want to spend 40 minutes. With your fruit, you should only spend about 15 minutes chewing properly, and that should be done. In a meal, you should be chewing maybe up to about 40 minutes. It shouldn't go longer than that, okay? But chew it properly and keep in mind how much you're talking and how much you're chewing. So there was a story from the time of Nazi Germany when the Jews were in the concentration camps. And they were allotted only like a little bit of white rice as their food. And so they would eat and they were so hungry. They were losing weight. They were becoming very gaunt. But this one man, his cheeks were very full. And he was not losing weight. So they said, oh, he must be stealing food from someone, from somewhere. But if you saw his practices, he took 1 grain of rice and he chewed and chewed and chewed and chewed and chewed until it became liquefied. And he did that with every grain of rice. He got the maximum value of the nutrients in each grain of rice. So it's not about the quantity of food that we eat. It's about the nutrients that we're able to extract from the food and the absorption. So you'll be very surprised. There was a lady who came to our program She was an Indian Sikh lady, and she loved the program. And then at the end, she said, I'm so happy. I only have to eat this much food, and I'm satisfied, more than satisfied. And that's what she just continued to practice. You think you need this much food to be satisfied? But you're going to start to have a new relationship with your stomach. You're going to be talking to your stomach and listening to your stomach. You're going to be like, stomach, have I had enough? And then you listen. So actually, we are supposed to be eating till our stomachs are 70 to 80% full. If our stomachs are full and say, oh, I'm full, that means we have overeaten. So how do you know it's 70 or 80% full? Well, by about 3 hours after the beginning of the meal, if you are ready to eat, if you're ready to drink water, if you're hungry, then you know that you've eaten maybe about 70 to 80%. If you're full for 5 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, you've overeaten. But if you're hungry after 1 hour, that means you have undereaten. So you need to find out the right quantity and the right composition of your meal. Because you know how there's heavier foods, right? Denser foods, and that will last longer and help you to be full and satisfied longer. So when we eat, we want to eat till we're satisfied. But in actuality, we can eat we can eat a small amount of food so that we're not hungry anymore. When you do that, then it's like a temperate fast. So you're not hungry anymore, and you're able to have the energy to continue things for the day. That made me realize that I needed to tell you something, that as you realize the benefits of all these fasting types, you wonder, is a temperate fast even as effective as a fruit fast? Or, water fast is the best. Should I do water fasting? Well, they all have similar effects. The amount of time your stomach is hungry, that's the amount of time that your body has time to heal, because it's not working on digesting food. So even with the temperate meals, if you eat a small meal and you're finished digesting in 2 hours, then you still have 3 hours to go for your body to do healing. There was a lady in Malaysia, and she had breast cancer, and it had transferred to the lymph nodes. And so then she had like little masses, little bumps here, in her armpits and then on the back of the neck. When she heard about the benefits of fasting, she's like, can I do fasting? But she was very tall and she was thin, underweight. And so we're like, nope, sorry, you can't, but you can eat our healthy meals with us. And, basically a temperate fast. And that's when I realized that temperate fasting works. Because after a few days, the lumps in her neck, they went down. And I was like, aha, even temperate fasting works for the healing. All right, so don't think that just fruit fasting or water fasting is beneficial. Even that temperate fasting, if they can keep, committed and disciplined, it can have an effect. Okay, and last, there was a teacher. She had a massive stroke, and she was paralyzed on the bed. She couldn't get up to go to the bathroom. She couldn't get up to even eat. Very severe. One of her fellow colleagues, she found out about Maker Heals and said, what can we do for her? So she ended up doing 2 weeks of water fasting and 2 weeks of fruit fasting. Because she was overweight, she had enough weight to lose. So the number of days that we can ask somebody to do fruit fasting or a fast depends upon their excess weight and also how strong they are, the strength. We don't have elderly people do it. We don't have children do it, usually, unless the child is overweight and they want to do it. Okay, and then so I just tell them, okay, let's try 1 day and let's see how it goes. And then if you want to try 1 more day, let's see how it goes. And then we transition them. For the elderly, those who are older, if they're weak and frail, definitely don't. But if they're old, but they're strong, then yeah, I just manage it and see, okay, do you want to try it? And then if they are willing to give it a go, we have them do it. So she fasted for a month. She was very, very motivated. It's the lady in the middle. After a few days, she was able to get up. She was able to walk. The next week, she was able to even go up the stairs in her house. And then a few weeks later, they sent us a video of her with her family and friends at the beach, walking on the beach, having a great time. Remember, she was paralyzed. That could have been her future. That could have been her life. Do you know how many pastors I met? I met at least a few pastors in India, and they had strokes and they were bedridden. For the rest of their lives, their wives were suffering, working so hard trying to take care of them and provide for the family. And I thought, oh my goodness, if they only knew the simple ways to change their lives, wow, they could have recovered. Oh, there's so many people who need help. And because they don't have this understanding and knowledge, they're in this situation. God is calling us to be missionaries, to be medical missionaries. Whatever you learn here that you're applying into your own life, you simply teach that to other people. Anybody who will listen. And if they will just put into practice, they're going to experience the changes too. It's very simple, but very powerful. If you, by faith, follow the Lord. So this is all about fasting and recovery meals. Guys, all right? You're tired. It's hard to sit for a long time, I know. But you did a good job hanging in there. And are there any last questions?
If someone's going through rehab, and obviously they are in a modified diet in the medical system, this is the normal medical. This is actually a friend of mine who had a stroke, who's just only a little bit older than me. Is there any types of fast he can follow to, he's in the rehab program, but the rehab is not moving as, it's very slow.
When did he have a stroke?
About 8 months ago.
So the quicker after you have an incident that you do this, the faster the recovery can be. So I would definitely, is he overweight?
He was, and he had quite serious issues with his diet, and what I know, he's lost an incredible amount of weight because he's now under medical supervision and following a different diet. So what I'm wondering about is it possible to, because he is frustrated with the slowness of the process of healing, he's getting some of his movement back, but is there any way of fast tracking that side?
Absolutely. Just what you've been learning. Yeah. Under the care of the medical supervision, I don't know if he can do a program like this under supervision or not. But yeah, if he does water fasting or fruit fasting, and as it's safe, and then the recovery meals, and then change his diet. No meat, no dairy, no oil, no animal products at all. And if just as you learn everything here, you can teach him. You can get one of the books and you can have him follow that. And if he applies it, definitely will fast track. So, yeah.
The question is, how do you convince a person to follow,
All I do is I share testimonies. I say, this person had this condition and this is what happened. This person had this condition, especially when it's something that they're struggling with. And then you just say, this lady, She had a massive stroke. She was paralyzed. She couldn't even go to the bathroom. She went, and then she did this, and then she was able to walk. She even regained her speech. I mean, she was still working on it, but like all the functions revived. All of these stories are God's testimonies of what following His ways can do. And so after that, it's up to them. Really, I mean, you can't force anyone to change, right? And so you just present the option. Do you want to try it? And then if not, there's nothing else you can do, really. But you can keep telling them stories or how good you feel, how, what's improved in your life. So, pray for them, yeah, that's it. As you pray, yeah, God can work and soften their hearts and might be receptive. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I think the issue has been, he's always had the issue with the diet, but he's been neglecting it, and I just wonder if it's even possible to get him to sort of change, because even after all this, he still talks about food. And I don't think it's a healthy relationship with food.
A lot of times the problem is not about food, it's a spiritual problem. So if they get to know God and want to follow Him, then...
Which is also the other issue. He is actually atheist.
Yeah. So probably the first thing is to introduce him to God and to Jesus and what hope and joy and healing that you have in God. And yes, take it from there. So either approach, through health or through God. Pray for wisdom and God will help you.
Thank you, that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, what about, how do you recover from temperate fasting?
Just add a little by a little until the right portion. Listening to your stomach. Asking your stomach if it's satisfied. Any other questions? Yes.
I wanted to ask about the chewing. So is it like when you are recovering from fasting, or even every time when you are eating?
All the time. Right? Because you're getting nutrients. Because you're getting nutrients. Right? So then that means that even to make it into a habit, right? And then so then you might not have to eat so much food. Yeah. Start a new habit.
Until it's
The more it's, disintegrated, the less work that your digestive system has to do. So do as much as you can, right? Sometimes it's not practical, right? Chewing for 40 minutes, an hour. But maybe that means we're eating too much.
Yeah, the thing is you don't have a lot of time to eat, so
That's a problem.
lifestyle, I think,
That's a problem. We gotta guard our time for the things that are necessary. Right? We're allowing other things to make our lives too busy. So you gotta think. Sometimes we complicate things. Even people who are living healthy, right? They want to make all their own bread and all their own granola and all that, and then they don't have time to spend with their families. Okay, well, so what's the good of, having healthy food but not spending time with your family? Okay, yeah? All right, so then we can do things, find out how to become more efficient. And Hamdissa was reminding me that Ellen White wrote about how in the kitchen, we need to become more efficient. We can do things in half the amount of time. Okay, so learning how to be more efficient, but then also guarding our times for what's most important. Right? If you understand that exercise is so important, then you'll make time for it. If we're getting too busy, something is out of balance. We're thinking that we need to. I'm trying to help God. I got to do all this ministry. I got to do all these good things. But that's not what God's calling us to do. We need to listen to God's voice so that we know what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. So it's time to cut stuff out. You're cutting stuff out from your food diet. You may also need to cut stuff out of your life. Oh, going to the gym is really good. Oh, going to Pathfinders is great. And going to this camp and that camp and that. Oh, it's great. But then you're so busy, you're extremely overtired. You're out of balance. Spirituality goes out the window. So we really need God's wisdom.
Schooling, all the activities are everywhere, I have to drive all over the place a week don't know. I'm doing that.
Less is more. Less is more. Simplify. Simplify. Okay, I want to give you a little bit break before our lunch. So let's close with a word. Question. Sorry.
Do you, what about the people who are going through like bulimia, anorexia?
Yeah, bulimia and anorexia. What do you do for them?
Yeah.
Pray. Because that's a mental issue.
Yeah.
It's a mental, emotional, spiritual issue.
And for those who can't put on weight?
Oh, yeah. Let me talk about that another time. When I do the talk about what to eat, what not to eat, I should, remember. But if I don't, remind me. Yeah. Yeah, definitely anorexia, bulimia, it's a mental issue.
Yeah.
So that can only be solved by God. Yeah, so they need to meet Jesus and be able to experience the healing in the heart, in the mind. It's the same for any issue, right? Any addiction. So it's just a one form that's coming out, right? And so everyone needs Jesus. And then they can learn to have the right relationship with food and such. Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you so much for giving us this counsel and for giving us these insights. Lord, so many people are suffering from all sorts of diseases and problems when we can have healing and we can have good health. Oh Lord, please help us to be able to learn and to practice and also to teach others what we know. We want to bring people and lead people to you. So please help us. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.